There, now.
Yes, now I see it.
You see it? Okay, all right. Actually, I guess we'll call it to order. We don't have a quorum, so it's not a super official meeting here, but that's okay. This is the more important doc. This is the financial doc that's actually required by law. The other doc we'll go through is a quarterly. It's a little more fluff. It's not. So the interims, you probably both know, being in government, interims are odd timing. So this interim is November 1st through January 31st. So this first chart of numbers here is what we have spent to date. Okay. So it's expended, what we project to spend through the rest of the year, and then the total on the far right. Okay. The second set of numbers is our projection versus the annual plan. Okay, so on the far left, you see what the numbers are for the annual plan. So, and if you you can see a pattern here actually. So we have had vacancies all year, quite a few actually. And so we've underspent our salary and benefit budget by $220,000. And that's through January 1st. So, you know, the picture can change. We have just filled some of the positions. So some of that variance will go away actually. Supplies, we are underspending our supply budget by $76,000. And reason being is we have fewer people buying supplies, right? So so that's that. Contracts, we are overspending by $333,000. Again, kind of a pattern. We're using contractors more because we have fewer staff. The equipment number is vehicles, and I'm sure you all have seen the news. It is almost impossible to find a vehicle these days. So I've been trying to buy new vehicles since July 1, and have been unsuccessful. So we're going to look at other large equipment. I will probably we're due for a new scissor lift anyway, and a new trailer to carry the scissor lift. So we're probably going to shift away from vehicles and go to that other large equipment. And then indirect cost all comes in at the end of the year. So that's why nothing has been spent to date, but we still expect that full amount. All righty. So this is just a little explanation of why the variances I already explained. You can see the staff model here. We've got 2 vacant maintenance engineer positions, which is our skilled maintenance position. 1 vacant maintenance tech, which is about equivalent to an apprentice. And then the ground supervisor position is vacant. Now for current day, we have now hired the ground supervisor. He was an internal promotion. And we are currently offering, we've gone through the whole process, and we're currently offering 2 people the maintenance engineer positions. We also actually offered the maintenance tech position, but then the ground supervisor was a maintenance tech. So when he got promoted, he left another vacancy. We always run into some musical chairs like that. So we have another vacant maintenance tech position, but this one that you see here is being filled from a custodian. So that's a promotion for him. So again, musical chairs, we get that very often. So now the custodial department will need to go find a new head custodian. He was at Washington. This guy was at Washington, and he was a very good employee. So the operations manager was sad to see him go, but we're happy to see him come. Supplies, as I already explained, contracted services. So some of this on contracted services, Dave, you probably know this very well. It's interesting. You get these waves of things where one year you'll have lots and lots of roofing issues, and the next year you'll have hardly any, and the next year you'll have lots of boiler issues. So this year we are having lots and lots of sewer issues. We've replaced about 4 sections of sewer line, and it's almost all roots, which is you can attribute to the historic drought that we're in. The roots are searching farther for moisture, and they can find it in the sewer lines. So we actually are having lots and lots of sewer issues, and it's probably going to continue for another year or so. So we've already replaced 3 sections of sewer line at 3 different schools, and also with elevators. We are about on par with our regular elevator maintenance budget, but on top of that, we modernized the Ruth Actie Elementary School elevator in the summer, which was an $80,000 job. So instead of our typical $120,000, $130,000 contract, we're spending $200 on elevators this year. All right, total expenditures. So we still have a healthy fund balance. It doesn't always show, because the money's all tied up and it's all encumbered in accounts and POs, but it'll be freed up at the end of the year. So we expect to have an ending fund balance at the end of this year of $1,177,000. Any questions or thoughts on that? All right.
It all looks good, Steve.
All right, great. I'm sure you've seen lots of those, Dave. All right, let me go to the other report. Okay, so this other one.
Oh, can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Are they letting you fill your vacant positions?
Yeah, so we actually had an interesting challenge. So during the pandemic, one thing that happened was employees weren't allowed to share vehicles. That was a health department thing, and then the union went ahead and negotiated it into their MOU. And both of where that affected us is that both our grounds crew and our evening maintenance crew share vehicles. So we all of a sudden were short on vehicles. In the grounds crew, we had to have people start driving their own vehicles to work. And so we had quite a few months there where we weren't trying to fill the positions because we didn't have vehicles for people. And I couldn't buy vehicles. And even if I could, we didn't have anywhere to put vehicles. You've seen our facility there at Russell. We were pretty much full, so we didn't have anywhere to add vehicles. So it was a very interesting problem that we had, and never found a solution. So I'm hoping that we won't have that problem anymore. All right, let me.
But central office will let you fill the positions.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No, so they have to date now. You do get a focus. So yeah, they'll have focuses if there's if the director has a position that he wants to fill, they might focus on that more than ours. But they had kind of like a recent run where they filled them all. So other than the one where we had a maintenance tech promote to the ground supervisor, so that's now a vacancy. But other than that, we are fully staffed.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but some of those positions were vacant for more than a year.
Okay.
All right, so this is our second quarter report, and this is a little more where we kind of tell you guys kind of the goings on with the department. So our last meeting was November 6th. This period covers October 1 to December 31st. That's the second quarter. So I don't know if you've heard, but our plant operations, our facility has been shuttered. So, you know, for many, many years, for decades, we've known that it wasn't seismically fit. And the facilities director actually had a project scheduled to do some improvements there, not to seismically retrofit it, but to replace our parking lot was completely full of potholes, and you know there were some issues. So we didn't have a storm drain system, so we basically pumped water out across the sidewalk to get rid of water when it rained. So he had a project scheduled and had his consultants come on, a structural and a hazmat, and they inspected the site and basically said, you guys shouldn't be here. This site should not be, is not habitable. So kind of on short notice, we were moved out of our home, and we got split up. So Sony and I and the operations manager and operations admin are with the facilities department and the project management staff at a rental property on Parker and 9th Street in Berkeley, which is a huge upgrade from where we came from. The neighborhood is really nice. The building is really nice. So it's kind of nice. And our crew, the supervisors and all of the staff and vehicles are temporarily at the adult school. And then they are going to be moved to Richmond, to a warehouse. Yeah, there are no properties in the city of Berkeley that can house us. We need the square footage and the property for our vehicles. So there's nothing in the city of Berkeley. So we toured a handful of sites in Richmond and Oakland and decided on one in Richmond. It is a 5-year solution. So we're signing a 5-year lease with the property owner in Richmond with 2 1-year options to extend. And then the school board just decided, so the facilities department considered 4 options for long-term housing for the department. And the one that won out was they already had a plan in planning to build a parking lot with a tennis court on the roof right across the street from the Berkeley High School. And so what John thought of, the facilities director, is to add 2 more stories and put us there. And when I say us, it still actually does not have enough space for Sony and I. So we are still homeless. We still are in a rental, and he'll have to find a different long-term solution for us. But the idea now is, and this is board approved already, the board approved this, where he will put, they needed 2 stories of parking for Berkeley High staff. So now they will go underground. So he'll go 2 stories underground and then do 2 high clearance levels above ground for all of our vehicles. So that will house maintenance and grounds, the nutrition services warehouse, the purchasing warehouse, all the facilities that were at Oregon and Russell Street. And so that was actually, of the 4 options, that was the least expensive and the fastest timeline, because he already had the ball rolling on it.
So can I ask you a question, Steve?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna get into whether I think this is a good idea or bad idea architecturally. Um, Where's your carpentry shop? Where's your plumbing shop? Where's your electrical shop? Where is all that stuff gonna go?
So they do have planned into, it's 18,000 square feet. No, yeah. 18,000 square feet is what we would have there, times 2 levels.
Yeah.
And so at the parking lot at it's on Milvia Street across from the high school.
So
They
you're not
do
only
have
parking your
a-
vehicles, this is where all your shops are gonna be.
Yes. So there
Mhm.
is space to have shop space. We will lose square footage. You know, we had done some programming probably 8 years ago now, when Lou Jones was still with the department.
Yeah,
And this was in preparation for tearing down and rebuilding Russell Street in Oregon. So we did some programming with an architectural firm, and came up with what space we needed. So John in facilities is utilizing that report and making sure. So that's how many square feet. So we will definitely lose lots of square footage. We have the luxury right now of being in a shuttered school, or for the last 50 years being in a shuttered school, and we get to use whatever space we want,
okay.
but it's not necessarily what we needed. So yeah, we'll have to tighten up the operations a little bit and get a little more efficient.
Can I ask, what's gonna happen at the old location?
So there's no plan for it. You know, I've been with the district long enough. When I came here 15 years ago, we still had a site called Hillside up in the Berkeley Hills
Mhm.
off of Leroy Lane. It was off of Cedar, and it was shut down like our plant operations was. It was shut down as a school in the 30s because of the Field Act, which was a law that required public schools to meet a certain seismic standard. And so we still owned Hillside, and we're renting it to neighborhood organizations, the Berkeley Chess Club and a couple little organizations, and we maintained it barely. It was in very bad shape. The district finally sold it during the Great Recession. But so there has been we at the district, these kind of things take a long time, Jordan. And so, you know, we also have a shuttered school up on Oxford, right? Oxford Elementary. And you know, I wouldn't be terribly surprised, and I don't mean to be negative, but it's not a focus because now it's an empty facility and the district doesn't really need another school. So it's very possible that it gets sold to a developer to build townhouses or whatever. So, you know, but there's no current plan. It's way too early in the process for that.
And you said it's Oregon and Russell?
Yeah. The facility takes an entire city block. So one side is Russell Street, one side is Oregon.
So two things, Steve, just so you know. The Hilltop, the site around the corner from my house, office, that was the German school for a number of years. They bought it from PUSD.
Yeah.
It's now been purchased by a guy who is the Finnish, and basically he's from Finland. He was the Finnish Amazon. And he sold his company to Amazon. So if you were to go there today, he owns the entire school, and that's his house. And
Oh, are you right? Serious?
He's turning it into an art colony, and you'll see his Ferrari parked in front.
Has he made any improvements to the?
Yeah, he's busy remodeling the school inside. People can still walk through the playground and use the playground.
Yeah.
And he's got all his recreational toys and vehicles. He's got an Airstream trailer, a Ferrari, a few other things. But I'm still confused. Did the tennis court people go away and or is there still going to be tennis courts on the roof of this thing?
Yeah, no, there'll still be tennis courts on the roof.
Okay. I'll buy you a beer one day. I'll tell you what I think of this plan.
Yeah. Well, so he went to the board with it. He looked at 4. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. He did 4. So to tear down and rebuild Russell Street is like an 8 to 10 year outlook, dealing with the city of Berkeley and the neighbors that don't want us there, and all the hazmat. So it was by far the cheapest and the fastest solution. Okay. And to be honest, maybe there weren't any ideal solutions. There aren't any properties in Berkeley that were ideal, really. So yeah, I mean, I won't say that it was my dream. It's my dream job thing, but there probably wasn't anything any better. So
there wasn't any room in the bus yard where all the buses are down off of Gilman.
No, that was one of the things he looked at. And in order for us to be there, we'd have to build. So there's 0 square footage on the ground. The buses, and then a small staff parking lot. It takes up all of the land. So they would have had to build an elevated parking lot above the bus yard.
Okay.
Right. And then
we're sort of off topic too. I didn't mean to divert you.
No, but yeah, he looked at all the options. One of the board members asked that we investigate doing a site share with the city of Berkeley with their courtyard. And so he looked at that and talked to the city, and they're already impacted there. So yeah, there really weren't any great options, unfortunately.
Okay.
All righty. Okay. So still under the little maintenance tab, we always report on our fire inspections, which we actually didn't have any during this period. We had 5 elevator inspections, and we've completed all the tasks. We're still waiting on 3 permits. Training, we've had 2 grounds gardeners attend a 4-day training. So this is for what actually it used to be called Bay Friendly landscaping training. It's actually gone statewide, so they've changed the name to it because it's not just the Bay Area anymore. But it's a really good workshop that works on soil health and teaches the guys about all that kind of stuff. One really fun, exciting thing that we did in this period is we planted 3 Miyawaki forests.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that actually a science teacher at Craigmont Elementary School was in discussion with their students, teaching them about climate change and the climate crisis we're in. And they were really like pushing her for like, what can we do to change to do anything, So she did some research and found this. It's a method that was created by a Japanese botanist about 50 years ago. It's gained popularity in Asia and Europe, and it's just now making its way to the US. So we were actually the first school district in the US to plant these. We planted one at King Middle School, one at Craigmont Elementary, and one at Malcolm X. And they're really neat. I encourage you to look on the internet for Miyawaki Forest. They're kind of cool. There's some thoughts and concerns, but our opinion is that we need to be bold. We're way beyond the point of like just replacing all of our light bulbs. Our state is on fire. So we need to be bold. We need to try things outside of the box. And so this is very much outside of the box. At the point of this closing, the ground supervisor position was vacant. It has now been filled.
Okay.
And then I already mentioned vehicles and equipment. This is just a different look at the staffing model. So you see the vacancies there, which have all been filled. And then we report on. So custodial, nothing to report at this time. Utility reduction and monitoring. We have actually, we have 7 sites that have solar, and that's about to be expanded. The new bond plan is to do about 8 more schools. And there's a plan at the high school with the hopes of having our first zero net energy building, which is probably our most energy needy building, our natatorium, which is our indoor pool. And he's having to put, the facilities director is having to put solar on about 4 different buildings to make it a Z&E building. But that's a really neat project that's underway. All the equipment's getting replaced with new, more efficient equipment, and lots of solar is being installed on that. With the 7 sites that we have currently, after a long period of like really struggling to find a good service company, we have a good one now that we've had for several years, and they're really on it. They do a good annual service. They let us know when problems occur, and they help us troubleshoot and find solutions. So we're really happy with them. Property management, these are the numbers that we've had so far this year. And these are things that actually aren't in the Measure H parcel tax, but they're kind of closely related. So we've always kind of, I think it's from conversations with previous committees that we've added these into the conversation.
So your permits are for what, renting space out to somebody in the school?
Yes.
So could I share with you, you know what San Francisco Unified collected a year?
No.
Like 2.5 million.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are what, about 5 or 6 times bigger than us?
Yeah, 150 schools.
Yeah, 150. So we've got 23. So yeah, you're about 5 times. Well, this is during the pandemic though, still.
Yeah.
So things these numbers are usually larger. And this is only for a quarter.
And you're probably right. I'm sure they didn't collect $2.5 million last year.
Yeah. It's been a very different world the last 2 years. So
Okay. All right. All looks good.
yeah, and then for waste management, our sustainability coordinator, who is paid for out of this money. One thing that we've been working on for quite a long time, and we're getting close, is eliminating single-use dishware in the cafeterias. So we got a couple grants, worked with a couple environmental organizations to help us brainstorm and come up with a plan. We purchased all of so this is for 3 pilot schools, with King Middle School being one of them. So King Middle School is actually our largest use cafeteria, because the high school, all the kids go off campus. So King Middle School and 2 elementary schools, we've got everything ready to go to pilot reusable dishware and utensils, where we have all the equipment. We just don't now, with the pandemic, the kids aren't eating in the cafeterias. So we need the kids to be back in the cafeterias before we can do the pilot program. So, but we're ready to go. All righty. So that's it on that. Let me stop sharing there.
Okay.
I realized I didn't actually bring the agenda with me. But I don't, that's pretty much it on the agenda.
Right.
So we did have, you guys might have noticed that Julie Sinai is no longer the board liaison. It's Ty Alper
Okay.
for this year. They change every December. They look at all the committees and assign all the board member liaisons.
Okay. So any problems or challenges that as a member of the oversight committee we should know about? Everything looks fine, Steve. Is there anything?
So yeah, I mean, kind of in everything I already talked about, I mentioned them, but the big challenges of the day are vehicles. So we can't find any new vehicles to buy. We have our irrigation specialist truck has been in the shop at Ford for about 8 months. They gave us a quote originally. We authorized it, wrote a purchase order for it, and they can't find the parts. So we've been renting a truck all this time. One of our 2 dump trucks for our grounds crew, same situation. It's been in the shop for months and they just can't find parts. So we've had to rent from Herc Rentals, which is kind of expensive. So that's an increase in cost that we didn't expect. Being separate. So we're still kind of learning to live with the being separate. I don't know if we're ever going to come back together again. Sony and I are now separate from the crews, the maintenance supervisors and all the guys, all the people that work on the field. We used to be able to just walk. I used to be able to just walk in the next room and hit them up. And all the flow of all the invoices, now is a little slower because we're at 2 different sites. So things like that are just adjustments because of the pandemic and because of this closing of our facility that we're still kind of figuring out as we go.
Okay, so if somebody were to ask me, as a member of this bond oversight committee, are you doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, spending all the money the way you're supposed to be spending it? And my answer, it appears, because I haven't looked at the most recent audit, is yes, everything seems fine. Nothing hurts, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
I'm happy. I'm easily
happy. So it's a good point, Dave, and people will come to you sometimes if they know you're on this committee and say, hey, well, what about this or that, and every once in a while we've had that. One thing I've noticed over the years is when things are good, people kind of lose focus and it's not exciting, and so it's when things are bad that really gets people to come to the board meetings and talk. So no, things are running smoothly. We're in good shape. I'm a part of a couple organizations with other school districts. I'm in a big M&O director training actually with a bunch of other school districts. And, we're, because of taxes like this, we have more staffing and more equipment and more modern equipment than most other school districts in the state of California.
That's good. I mean, and Jordan knows what I'm talking about. I mean, my predecessor before me went to prison for 5 years for bribery and extortion.
Yeah.
People I know in San Francisco, like Mohammed Jordan, and the head of DPW, people I were not DPW. PUC. All those doesn't take much, and so when you're entrusted with the public trust, you you just want to be able to say everything's okay.
Yes,
So,
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we go
So,
have dinner now?
yes, you can. We can call it a night. Thank you all. Oh,
Yeah, no, Sonny, thank you for all your good work, and you too, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Looks
Okay,
like
we'll see you
Stephen
guys
is
later.
frozen, but
He-
enjoy your evening, everyone.
I think he left, or
Oh, he left.
I don't know
Oh.
what happened.
Oh, Steve froze.
It looked like
Yeah.
you froze.
He froze, but no, Sonny, you guys are doing fine. It's not the most exciting committee I've ever been on, but I sort of got waylaid into it. So I'm not sure how you got suckered into this one, Jordan.
I was actually just interested in learning more about the capital side of things from, what I do a little bit in work and just kind of
Right.
expanding my knowledge of administration.
Well, I did 8 years on the capital bond oversight, the